I'm Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. To commemorate the Bicentennial, the Ann Arbor Art Fair dedicated a sculpture at the corner of State Street and North University to recognize the roots of our past and the growth for the future ahead.
A sculpture of this magnitude, as you can see, takes some...
This is Paint the Town and Dart for Art. It's a joint kickoff event for the Ann Arbor Art Fair. It's my first year at State Street District, and the three fair directors got together before me and had this idea of bringing a sculpture and donating it to the city for the Bicentennial. The Tree of Life symbolizes the roots we've planted and have grown, and the tree and the branches that will come.
Most of my art is about 85% repurposed. Materials came from all over. Parts are off of equipment to lift airplanes. The base is off of a propane tank for holding propane. And then the rest is just rebar.
The Ann Arbor Art Fair is made up of three fairs over a 65-year history that all work together to bring this event to the community, and the sculpture and the statue in this community event tonight is just a testament of us working together and how beautiful it is and how beautiful it will be.
Stay tuned, and we'll be back with more in exactly 30 seconds. Environmentally sound technology is constantly changing. Year after year, we see strides being made to protect the planet for our youngest generation. The city took over the Ann Arbor Farmers Market to bring the latest tech during the Home Electrification Expo.
The City of Ann Arbor is hosting an event for various vendors and contractors to share what their companies and their mission are all about, which is to help people be more energy efficient in their homes.
What we were hearing from residents is that they needed more experience with some of the equipment. They wanted to know who to talk to, who are the experts, who are the vendors, where can I learn more.
One of the best things you can do to improve your home's energy efficiency is to air seal it. What this sealant will do, it will find all those gaps and cracks up to a ½ inch. And so it will greatly improve the air quality of your home.
When it comes to efficiency, we're talking about the ability for equipment never before that's been able to heat in our climate to be able to do so and make it so that a person's monthly utility bill doesn't go crazy.
Really, all the energy that the world uses is in the daylight. It just has to be, the engineering has to be right to convert it into power.
What gets me out of bed every morning is my kids. And everything that I'm doing and all of the work that I'm doing is because, not for me, but for them and their kids.
For more on the city's sustainability goals, visit a2gov.org/820. The weather is right to get on a bike, but before those feet hit the pedals, learn about bike maintenance in this month's City Roundup in 60.
Hello, I'm Doug Martell with the Ann Arbor Police Department. We're going to talk about a pre-check on your bikes. I call it the ABC. You're getting ready to dust your bikes off for the season. So A is for air. Make sure that your tires are properly inflated, that you have good tread on your tires. B for brakes. You want to make sure that your brakes are working properly, because if you're going, you're going to need to stop at some point. So make sure that your brakes are working properly. If you need help with those, I'm sure your local bike shop will help you out. And C is for chain. You need to have a chain that's working well, that's not rusty and corroded. So make sure that your chain is working. If it's rusty and it doesn't look like it's going to take any lube, Your local bike shop can help you out getting the right length of chain for you. Thanks for watching. Please ride safely. Enjoy the ride.
Imagine waking up and having no recollection of your life. Your closest friends and loved ones are those of strangers. For Claire, amnesia is just one of her troubles. Kidnapping family secrets and sock puppets takes center stage as she works to recover the life she once had. Joining me is Gary Lehman, director of PTD's Fuddy Meers. Welcome to the show, Gary.
Hi.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I'd like to get to know the directors a little bit and how you started in theater and what led you to wanting to be behind the scenes.
Ooh, a good and long question. I've been doing, I did theater when I was young, but where I grew up, it wasn't a part of school and we didn't have a theater, so it kind of went away in my life. And then when I moved to Ann Arbor in 2002, I got into improv, which got me back into theater. And I started working with the theater at my school at Green Hill Schools, where I teach, and I'm now the theater teacher and director. And in the ensuing years, I got an MFA at Eastern Michigan University in youth theater and drama, and started auditioning for plays and directing. And here I am.
It's interesting. That's your job. Theater is your job.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when you talk to people, it depends. Either it's like something they went to school for and then they start doing community theater because it's like a passion. But it must be a deep passion for you to have a career that revolves around theater and then to take your free time and be a part of the community theater scene.
Yeah, and that was, I haven't been teaching theater for 20 years. I actually was a computer teacher.
Oh.
And transitioned into theater. It's kind of like the third iteration of my life. So yeah, when I was doing it before, it was because my job was computers and helping people print things. And now it's like, that's my job. So yeah, spending the summer doing it is because I like it, for sure.
That's amazing I mean, first of all, it's got to be so much more fun to go from being the computer teacher to being the theater teacher.
Yeah, yep.
So what led you to PTD? What attracted you to that organization? Because I do feel like it's a really creative organization and they love to run the gamut of different kinds of plays too. They want to make sure they have some comedy, some drama in there and do a nice mix.
Yeah, so I've known some people that were associated with PTD. Laura Bird was a colleague of mine. So 2 years ago after the pandemic, I was like, I need to do a show, like a scripted show, because I'd been doing improv forever. And PTD was doing Rumors by Neil Simon, and I'm like, that sounds like a show I'd like to do. So I just auditioned, got cast, had a 3-page monologue, and got thrown off the deep end. That's a farce, that particular show, and comedy's my forte. So that was a lot of fun, and I met more people doing that. And so I got invited to submit to direct, which I did. And then last summer, literally last minute, I showed up for an audition for Perfect Arrangement, which was last summer's show. So I got cast in that show. And then the show after that was Escanaba in Love, and I'm originally from the Upper Peninsula. So I got to use my UP accent for work. So I did a few shows there, and then I submitted a play last summer. It's like a year in advance to direct now, and it got accepted. So,
Well,
okay.
that's interesting. What is a UP accent from someone that's lived in the Lower Peninsula their whole life? What is a UP accent?
Well, it really depends on which end of the UP, because I'm from the eastern end, so it's a little bit more Canadian-y. And it's kind of gone away for me, but when I get like worked up or angry at rehearsal and certain words will come out, boot. And the cast always like, oh, you sound Canadian. But the western end, like Escanaba, Houghton, that kind of area, is much more pronounced. It can almost sound like, like the accent, the Minnesota accent in Fargo. Like,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, we're gonna go up the road there and see if there's any deer down that way.
It's
So
interesting
yeah,
because when I hear the Canadian accent, I would just automatically assume it's a Canadian and not a Youper.
most people do. Like I
Yeah,
grew up in Sault Ste. Marie, and that's right on the border. Uh, so yeah, oftentimes like, are you Canadian? I'm like, no, but I grew up on the border.
yeah, yeah. Well, tell me about this show, a little synopsis without obviously spoiling it, and why you wanted to do this show.
Well, interesting story. I originally submitted a different show, Kimberly Akimbo, also written by David Lindsay Abaire. I'd seen it on Broadway, the musical version, and I read the play, and I'm like, oh, this is a great show. So I submitted, it got accepted. Then we couldn't get the rights because the show is now on tour. So back to the drawing board. And I had read this play as part of like, I like I liked him as a playwright, and I'm like, this is a weird show. And then I moved on. And then I came back, and I'm like, this really is a weird show, but in the best possible way. It's got quirky characters. It's funny. There's funny moments, but there's also dark moments and some real heart. It's kind of the whole gambit. And, we can have fun with a sock puppet, and then we have to talk about family history and how did I get that scar on my forehead? It's really a day in the life of Claire, who has psychogenic amnesia, which means every day when she falls asleep, she forgets everything. So when she wakes up, she even forgets who she is, like
So it's like
complete.
the movie 50 First Dates.
In a sense, yes.
Yeah.
In that movie, she remembers everything about her life up to the point of her accident. And in Claire's case, she forgets everything. Like she doesn't remember her name. She doesn't remember her husband, like nothing. So everything is like every day is a brand new day. And the play is the day where she learns why she has amnesia, the things that led up to it, and the stuff that happened in her life that led to this condition. And psychogenic amnesia is like a non physical amnesia. So 51 first dates or 50 first dates, she had an accident.
Yeah.
So
There's no
uh,
trauma involved. It's
there's
like a
no
it's like a
physical trauma.
genetic sort of thing.
Yeah, it's no physical trauma.
Yeah.
It's psychological trauma
Yeah.
or things that lead to that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole play is Claire figuring out who all these people are, who may or may not be lying to her, uh, and learning the multiple things that happened in her past that caused her to have her amnesia, her break. And everybody figuring, everyone's playing their angle. Uh, who is this person? And the audience really is like you're in Claire's world, almost Claire's head. Like you have to figure all this out too.
Hmm.
And part of the fun is the playwright is really focused on language. It's not just a picnic for Claire and you to go like, oh, I know what this is, and I know what that person's saying because one character speaks with a lisp, another character has split personality and speaks through a puppet. And Claire's mother has had a stroke and has an aphasia, so she speaks in a completely different language. So much so that there's a dictionary for her lines at the end of the script, so that we know what she's actually saying. That's the audience doesn't get that, but it's great for the actor
Yeah, it's
to
something I
know.
think the actor really should know so
Right.
they know how to speak the lines, right?
Yeah, and that particular part, Laura Bird is playing Gertie. That's the name of the character, and she's been pretty much off book since rehearsal started because it's literally its own language. If you're really paying attention and listening, you know what she's saying.
Hmm.
Uh, she's not using the actual words, but you get the intent.
Yeah.
Unless it's intended that you don't get it, because there's a few moments where they play with the language that way too.
Well, I think this has got to be an actor's dream, but you really have to be a skilled actor for a lot of these roles in this play because it's so complex.
Yeah, there's so Limping Man, who Jerry Doty plays, has a physical limp, speaks with a lisp, is blind in one eye and deaf in an ear and has a prosthetic on one of their ears because of a thing you'll learn in the show. And so there's all of that layers just for one character to take on, which takes a while. And then the puppet, Binky, it's Millet is the character, and Binky is his puppet. It's played by Jacob Williams Justin. And figuring out where's the puppet going to be? How's the puppet going to react? How's Millet going to react? And literally two characters at once, and his lines, he kind of talks to himself, so he's prompting himself in a speech between the puppet character and him, like he and the puppet have conversations. So memorizing stuff it's like memorizing a phone call in a script.
Yeah.
No one is talking and you just have to remember the lines
Yeah.
like that. It's very difficult. And then getting a puppet voice that we can also understand, but also we know is separate from Millet. And that's just three of the characters. There's
Well, I
seven.
can imagine like before you were casting this, you were like, please let some of the best people from PTD show up for this casting call.
Yeah, because it's I mean, well, for all of them, but there's a lot going on with those particular roles.
Yeah.
There's also Kenny, Claire's son, who's 17, but he's still in 8th grade and has all this pent up angst because effectively his mother is gone. And that's Chandler Gimson. He gets to play with pot smoking teenager who has a major role in the whole process of Claire figuring out who she is. And in Claire, of course, it's Kara Williams, has, the most lines in the show and has to figure all this out as if when she wakes up, she's a blank slate. Like you don't even know your name. And playing all of those different moments to also show that the character doesn't really know what's going on, even
Yeah.
though the character knows all of it.
Yeah, and as an actor, it's got to be hard to play something like amnesia because you have to find something in yourself that would get you to that point. And most people haven't had any real experiences where they've just like lost their memory.
Right. The play is written well. There are moments where there's flashes. So early on, there's a moment where she says a name that hasn't been said yet. And her husband, kind of Richard, reacts to it. And it's a moment where she gets to establish who she really is, because Claire is still there. She just goes away every day. In the
Yeah.
process of the day, she relearns who she is. And there's different outcomes every day. But today is the day where she learns all of it. And that's the process of it. And it's I keep doing this because it's up and down.
Oh,
She learns
yeah.
but is it true or it not? And there are multiple people telling her multiple things. And there's a lot of, the end of Act 1 ends like a farce. And there's
Yeah.
just, like all the characters are on stage and there's tons of stuff going on and it's all
A bunch of
culminating.
doors opening.
Yeah. Guns,
Yeah.
knives, bacon. There's a lot going on. And all that's going on. I should mention the rest of the cast. The Richard's played by Sam Spaulding, and he's like the good guy, or that's what he wants people to think. And Laura, I mentioned, is Gertie. Maddie Esselink is our Heidi, who is a cop, maybe. So
Real mystery going on. I mean, this is the whole thing. Like, I'm like trying to put myself in Claire's eyes here, and I'm like,
yeah.
you don't know who to believe, who's real, who's not. And that's sort of the fun of the show.
Yeah, and it kind of comes down to like, how do you really know who you are?
Yeah.
How do you really know the people around you? What is memory? I mean, it really can be brought to that level. I think really it's about who do you believe? Who does she believe? And really that's where Kenny comes in. Because at the end of the day, Kenny and Gertie, who's her mother, are really the only two characters who really care about her
Hmm.
well-being. The others do to a point, but they're like family.
Yeah.
So, through the show, Gertie's like, trust no one but me. That's not how she says it, but that's what she's saying. And Kenny really comes in at the end and is like, this is what happened, Mom. He's been wanting to do this for 2 years.
Yeah.
It really kind of, and there's a twist there too that I don't want to give away.
No,
There's a
don't
lot
give it
of,
away.
yeah, there's a lot of like, oh, kind of
Yeah.
moments. It could be like, oh, funny. It could be, oh, I didn't see that coming. Or it could be, oh,
I
no.
also love like watching something where you are critically thinking and trying to figure out what is happening. And I like that aspect that where you say Claire's figuring it out, but the audience is also figuring it out with her. And I think it's something pretty cool that like when you like, I first of all think it's great to think about something when you're watching it and really try to like get involved in it and try to figure out what's happening. But it's also really cool like when you figure it out too. Like I like that it takes me a little while to figure it out, not the whole time. Or like if it's the whole time, like, oh, sweet, that was a great twist I never would have expected. So I think
Yeah.
that's like a fun aspect of this show that you're putting on, that it's really going to make you think as you go while you're watching it in progress.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, especially in Act One, there's a lot of comedy, a lot of funny moments. There's a
Hmm.
lot of comedy bits that we discovered and added in as we were rehearsing. The cast has been really fun to work with in that aspect. And I'm an improviser, so I like to play
Yeah.
stuff like that. So there's a lot of just super fun things that we've added in that elevate moments or point other things out, that it's just a lot of fun, so that
Yeah.
when we to the points where all that is just slammed to the floor and reality comes in a dark way sometimes, that we have both sides. I really like dramedies. I love
I
really funny
agree. I think there's
shows.
something really fun about watching them because they are funny, but then they're also serious. So you get like this range of emotions. And I also think, back to the actors again, that this is something that actors love. Like comedy isn't easy. And I think like sometimes like if you're not an actor, you think like, oh, comedy's got to be easy. Not everyone is comedic or knows how to like say a line and it be funny to people. But then you also have to be emotional and have this drama portion of it. So you really have to be so well formed as an actor.
Yeah, I think, and our cast does a really good job of being super funny and just leaning into that
Yeah.
when it's appropriate, and then leaning into the emotion uh, and the trauma and the anger of what particular moment, sometimes on a dime.
Hmm.
Uh, so that is the fun of it, and it's also, I think, what brings the audience in even more is like that person was just making me laugh in this completely stupid way. And now I'm like, ugh, that makes me what? That's so
Yeah,
silly.
yeah.
Like more, please. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun to work with on both sides. Like you said, like as an actor, it's a lot of fun. Sometimes it's a lot of fun to just do a comedy and be silly, not have to think about anything serious.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's fun to just do a play where it's all drama and we're just going to live in it and feel it,
Yeah.
just be like soppy and sad at the end. Uh, but I love both.
Yeah. I
uh,
agree. I think that some of the best stuff I've ever seen does both, you
yeah.
know? Talk about the meaning behind the name. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Is it Fuddy Meers? Does that have something to do with Claire's mother and her speech?
Yeah. So it's Fuddy Meers, which is Gertie saying funny mirrors.
Uh-huh.
So that's the title, and it comes out in the course of the show. Um, So there's a lot of phrases like that. I mean, everything Gertie says is through an aphasia. So she knows what she's saying, uh, It's just not coming out the way that we're used to hearing. So, and most of the characters know what she's saying right away, like Claire and Richard, who's met Gertie before, and Kenny, they've interacted with her. So like they pretty much understand what she's saying. Everyone else is like, what?
But Claire can understand her even though she has no recollection from the days previous.
She has no memory of. There's a lot of things that come out that she does remember.
Yeah, because you
she's
did
not
say
a
she
person.
mentioned a name at some point of someone that she hadn't heard yet. So there's
Yeah.
something there still.
Yeah, it's a blank slate, but it's not like everything that she experienced up to the point went away.
Uh-huh.
It's just beneath.
Yeah.
And every day it gets covered up, but it comes out and she'll remember. She's like, oh yeah, this is where I grew up. This is the house I grew up.
Okay.
You're my mom. She has a book to help her, like remember all this stuff, but it's still all there.
Mm-hmm.
She has actually a couple monologues where she starts remembering all this stuff and it all just comes out in this she's like, oh, don't tell me I don't remember things. But she needs something to prompt her, generally, that to get the memory back up to the surface.
Well, we are running out of time, Gary. Why don't you tell me when the show is and why people should come out?
Well, the show opens August 15th, which is a Thursday, and it runs for 2 consecutive weekends. So that first weekend is August 15th through the 17th, 7:30 at Riverside Arts Center, and Sunday the 18th at 2. And then the following week, there's a Wednesday matinee. So Wednesday the 21st at 2 o'clock. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 7:30. Tickets are $20, 15 for seniors and students. And both Thursday shows are pay what you can. So we'd love to see you to come out. And why should you come? Because it's going to be fun. It's very funny. There's some quasi-interactive moments with the audience.
Oh.
The whole show is kind of Claire's mind and world. So there's a little funkiness to it at times. And it's funny with big heart. And the ending, you get to make your own decision on, is what I'll say. So come out and have a good night at theater.
It sounds very interesting. I think it's a can't miss show, it sounds.
Oh, of course. It's can't miss. Come more than once.
Well, thank you so much, Gary, for filling us in on Fuddy Meers.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to see all that we have to offer. And remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time to FYI.